Hi everyone, welcome to our week one review summary video. For those of you that have not done one of these Edpuzzle summaries before or Edpuzzles before, if you haven't been in my class, you probably haven't done a summary. So if you haven't done an Edpuzzle before, hopefully you'll find this helpful. Or at least a kind of a neat or different way to learn a little bit. We'll do one of these each week. I'll do a little bit of a review, maybe a discussion. Last week was fairly basic, so there's not a lot to review, but as the weeks progress, we'll probably do a little bit more discussion, maybe answer some questions folks had, or a little bit of a discussion, maybe some review of content maybe people had questions of. And then what I do is I choose the top three, usually the top three quiz questions that people had problems with, or more than that, if there's a wider variety. Everyone did really well in the quiz last week, so there were only a couple that I could choose. But I'll choose the top three quiz questions typically and go over the answers to them. But in the Edpuzzle format, what you'll see is there will be questions that'll pop up. So it's almost like a little mini quiz. You just need to answer the question that pops up. So you need to watch the video because your answer will be found within the video, which is also based on the content, obviously, we reviewed last week. So you'll just need to answer those questions, and then at the end of the video, the information actually will live in Edpuzzle. So I'll be able to go out to Edpuzzle and retrieve that and bring it into Blackboard. So once you complete this in Edpuzzle, that's all you need to do. There will be nothing else that you need to do to bring it back over into Blackboard. So last week we had a discussion. Obviously, there were a few different parts, kind of a review of financial management overall in healthcare out of your text and in your quiz. But in the classroom, we talked a little bit in the discussion boards about kind of the notion, let me scroll down here, the notion of fiduciary responsibility. And I think that and that's actually going to continue this week as we talk about for-profit and not-for-profit status. So we kind of even jumped the gun with some of our discussion. We were hoping to, the focus was to really talk about that fiduciary responsibility, but based on some of the articles we had, it did kind of jump into that discussion, which is an easy one to have with our case study here with UPMC, in that they are a large not-for-profit organization that has had some situations where it's been a difficult. They've had to make some difficult decisions that have not appeared to be the best for the community. And I'm sure that there have been business reasons behind that, but sometimes it doesn't always appear to be the best for the community. So we'll continue that discussion this week with the for-profit versus not-for-profit status, and also community benefit. And we'll talk more about that this week. But this past week we talked about that fiduciary responsibility, and do healthcare organizations have a fiduciary responsibility to act for their community? So does UPMC have that? Or do they just have to provide X amount of charity care, X amount of care for the community, and once they've met that, then they don't have any further responsibility. And then, we pick on UPMC for the folks that are here in the Pittsburgh area. We pick on them because they're an easy target. They're a very large organization right here in town. But if you lived in Los Angeles, if you lived in New York City, if you lived in Orlando, Florida, there are easy targets there too. And if you are someone that's out of the area, I'm sure you can easily pick out a organization in that area. I actually live in Binghamton, New York, which is in upstate New York, and there are two hospital systems, and there's one there that we used to call the Evil Empire. So it's much, much smaller than UPMC, but was exactly the same. So UPMC gets that moniker in this town because they are the bigger of the two. But so for folks that work there, please don't take offense to the fact that we use them as a case study. It's just because they're a very easy case study here in this area. We have lots of access to their information, so that's why. But so this coming week, we'll kind of continue to look at that. And there was a case with the city of Pittsburgh where it actually came up even further, the for-profit versus not-for-profit status, and that actually ended up being dropped by the city, and we'll talk more about that. But it's really interesting to look at that, situation and how should that proceed. So that was that. Any questions on any of those things, please feel free to contact me. I wasn't around as much this week as I would normally be or would like to be. For those of you that had friends that maybe graduated this week or were involved in the commencement ceremonies yourself this week in some way, it was a little crazy having summer classes start before commencement. Was a little nuts. We had doctoral commencement, doctoral defenses, doctoral commencement on Wednesday and Thursday this past week, all the pinning ceremonies on Saturday, and then commencement just yesterday, as well as the Pittsburgh half and the Pittsburgh marathon on Sunday morning. Congrats to anyone who was involved in that. I was myself. And then on Saturday if you happen to do the 5K or if you're here in the area. So yeah, it was very, very busy, crazy weekend. So, but I will, if you ever have a question, please just drop me a note, give me a call, send me a text. All of those numbers are available there in the syllabus. So let's go over the quiz questions. And so our quiz questions, scroll back up here so I have to keep looking at that face. Our quiz questions, the first one was a finance committee typically, and there's 4 different answers, I won't read them all to you, but the answer was monitors the CEO's performance in financial activities. Keep in mind, too, that our quiz questions come from a bank of questions, a ton of them, so you may not have had this question, but if you did and you got this one wrong, so monitors the CEO's performance in financial activities. And so the finance committee is an element of the governing board overall. So you'll have your governing board for your organization, be it a hospital or an integrated health system, etc. And the finance committee is a smaller part of the overall governing board, so your board of directors or whatever it happens to be. This is a group of those people. And so these folks are responsible for monitoring how the CEO is monitoring those financial activities. So what is he doing to make sure that the organization is financially sound? How is he spending money? How is he being sure that there's revenue? What are the things he's doing in capital spending? What are the things that he's doing to monitor the financial activity overall? Now, there's also typically, in large organizations, there's also typically an audit committee. In smaller organizations, the finance committee might be the audit committee. So it depends on the organization. But so that audit committee is responsible for that financial audit and working with the outside auditing firm to make sure there's that independent audit that goes on of the books of the organization, making sure that everything is copacetic and clean and everything's being done on the up and up. But sometimes it's the same group, sometimes they work hand in hand. If it's a large organization, it may be 2. But the gist is making sure that the CEO is doing their job with regard to finance. I'm running 2 computers here to to be able to look at the quiz questions. Sorry, get this next question open. So the next question is, and I have some data here I want to look at for that question. By type of service, the largest healthcare expenditure are poor grammar in this question. But so the options were hospitals, physicians, pharmaceuticals, or nursing homes. So the answer is hospital. So the highest level of expenditure is hospital care, and that the expenditure in hospital care is 32.3%. Of the overall expenditure by type of service. The second most is professional services or physicians, and that was 26.2%. So it's pretty close, closer than I would think it would be. But because hospital care tends to be pricey, and professional services, although you would think they would be more pricey, are not quite as much. Surprisingly, pharmaceuticals are only about 10%. Because everyone says, "Oh, pharmaceuticals, are, they're the bane of our existence. They cost so much." They're only about 10%. Um, so it's not quite as much as one would think. But so hospital is the answer to that question. They are the largest healthcare expenditure. So the next question had to do with quality, and this is so important for those of you that have had any exposure to quality management overall. This is such an important element of all aspects of our industry right now, be it from a clinical standpoint. I know a lot of you are involved in the clinical aspects of our industry, to the healthcare administration aspects of our industry, and everywhere in between. So quality is key now, making sure we're providing good quality care. And so our book talks to us about both proactive and reactive strategies to quality. And so many times now we think about reactive strategies to healthcare. Okay, what does Joint Commission tell us to do? What does CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, what do they tell us to do? But this question that we have here is actually talking about proactive strategies, and how hospitals or healthcare organizations can craft proactive strategies to quality that have nothing to do with all of those quality measures that we have to meet for all of those organizations like Joint Commission or CMS. So this question was, direct measures of quality include, and this is actually, you can find it in your textbook. It was just a specific listing of 4 specific types of measures. It's found on page 11. So they have to do with the proactive strategies, and these were direct measures of quality, goal-based measures, responsive measures, decision-making measures, and connoisseurship measures. And and they have to do with really kind of crafting a quality program, not about, for those of you that have been involved in quality at all or have looked at quality management, much of quality management is less about really truly creating quality care and more about collecting data. That's what a lot of those reactive strategies are about. This is really about creating creating measures around goals, around expert opinions, creating something that is really truly going to provide a quality experience to the patient. So that's why it's important for us not only to answer the call of what our accreditors want and what our payers want, what the government wants, but also create a system of high quality care for our patients based on goals, based on expert opinions, and based on response to what our patients are asking for. So we need to react, but we also need to be proactive. So what our book is telling us about is both the reactive strategies and the proactive strategies. So there's some really good information in there about that. And the majority of you got it right, so I'm sure that you did review that information in there. But it is really helpful, good information, not just from a financial standpoint, but also overall with regard to quality of care. So that's it. That's the end of the quiz questions for this week. If you did get one wrong that I did not go over, and you have a question on it, please let me know. I'm happy to review that with you. And I look forward to a great week this week. I will be. We have no more ceremonies or whatnot to go through this week, so I'll hopefully be in the discussion boards a bit more. But again, if you have any questions on anything, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the discussion boards. Thanks so much.